his work becomes increasingly self-centered. That's not normally the experience of somebody making games, I guess. Not the press is eager to hear whatever you have to say.
And of course, it's the machine.
I'm not quite sure how to interpret this. Of course it's about his loneliness and his creative burnout, but when he never published those games, then why would anybody say that him stopping to make games hurt them? It is something you might find on the internet, that there are gamers complaining loudly about something they didn't like in a game, but usually these are franchises that are played by thousands, hundreds of thousands of people. Oh, you can't destroy the machine. And I'm back on the stage. Whoa. That's pretty dark.
Remember, you can click to fire the gun. So now the work is becoming self-destructive. And I'll tell you, at the time that I first played this game, shortly after he made it, here's what I'm thinking to myself. I'm thinking that code is stuck in his own head, and that it's having a very negative effect on him, and that all he needs to do is just start showing his work to people, to get some actual feedback on his games. It might get him out of isolation. And so, as I'm thinking this, I realize that I could be the one to initiate it. Because it would never occur to Coda to start actively soliciting feedback, so what if I did it for him? If he could see the difference it would make to have more actual conversations with other human beings, would that bring him out of his mental spiral? Would it give him confidence in himself? Would it bring meaning back into his work? So I started showing Coda's work to people. I took this one, and the islands which you just played, the theater, the notes, the house cleaning game, and some of the prison escape games. I brought them to people that I knew and trusted. I asked their opinions. And the great part is that they really loved his games. You know, the point of it all was just to give him some external reference point, but they genuinely loved his work. There was nothing for him to be afraid of.
There is nothing I can do. I can't move. The buttons don't do anything. It wants me to shoot. So I'll have to shoot.
Can you see why I felt like this was the right thing to do? Because it's the thing that I always feel like I need. To be told that my work is good. That I am good. When someone really connects with a thing that I've made, when they see themselves purely in my work, there's nothing that feels better. And I got to give that very same feeling to my friend. I did something... I really felt like I'd done something good. Like I was a good person. I felt like there was a friend who was in trouble and was unhappy and maybe didn't like themselves, and I could fix it. If I could give him this gift, maybe I could fix the problem. When they told me how much they enjoyed his games, it was the best feeling. It was the absolute best feeling. It made me feel so happy. So beautifully, beautifully happy. So anyway, Coda finishes this game, and then really he just kind of takes off for a while. So this is June of 2011, and I didn't hear anything from him for several weeks, I guess. And so out of nowhere, one day I get an email, and it's got a private link to a new game of Coda's. This one is called The Tower, and to my knowledge, it's the last game that Coda ever made. So let's take a look.
That makes it sound like Coda is no longer alive.
And this is where I have trouble saying anything meaningful about Coda's work. Because more than anything else, the tower just feels distant. It feels like it's trying to distance itself from the world. It's a very cold game. This room actually has a maze in it. Except that all the walls of the maze are invisible. And then every time you touch one of the walls, there's this awful flashing and noise, so the experience is really miserable. The game goes beyond not being meant to be played, it actually seems to despise the player for trying to play it at all. But I do want to show you the rest of the level, so when you're ready to continue, press enter and I'll put a bridge over the maze. And to be fair, it's not like this is the first game that's needed some modification to be playable. Like the house cleaning game. You know, that one used to actually loop the cleaning chores and you just cleaned a house forever. I had to cut it off so that you could exit the house and the game would actually end. But that game had an idea that it was actually trying to communicate. What's the deeper idea behind the invisible maze?
Well, I could see an interpretation in it being that he encountered obstacles in his life that he couldn't get past. In theory, he could have gotten past them, but he didn't because he couldn't see them.
The only way past this challenge is to randomly guess the 6-digit code. Like the invisible maze, it's frustrating to me because it's the opposite of everything else that Coda has made. It doesn't encourage thought or engagement. It doesn't ask anything of me except a lot of my time. If I could have reached him during this time, then maybe I could have asked him, but I couldn't. I still don't really understand why this is here. I'll put the code on the ground for you here, though, so that we can move on.
All these choices make it sound like he was facing problems that he couldn't solve. Well, other people might have said, but there's totally a solution. But to him, finding the solution to his problems would have been as impossible or very, very hard as solving the ones that he's hidden in this game.
The switch to open this door is actually on the other side of the door, meaning that it's literally impossible to solve from this side. So even if you somehow brute forced your way through the first 2 challenges and you got to this point, there's actually just no way to progress. And it's scary for me, the idea of Coda cutting himself off entirely, just saying, that's it, that's the end of the conversation, not giving me any way to fix the problem. I feel like a failure, I guess, when I can't fix the problem. But I can open this door for you, so let me do that. Was I a failure for not understanding this game? I mean, I don't know why I would be. It's not like everything needs to have a solution, but I feel it somehow. I feel like I failed, and I don't understand why.
From what he said so far, he has been pretty sensitive about his friend.
I remember, it's June of 2011. I'm playing this for the very first time. And as I'm playing, I'm thinking to myself, I don't know this person. I have no idea who this person is. It wasn't the guy I knew, it wasn't my friend. I had come to so many conclusions from looking at all of his work up to this point, and then suddenly none of them...
Well, it does sound like he was deep in the throes of depression. And when somebody's depressive, it's pretty hard to reach them.
I had been trying to, though. That was the thing. For years, I was trying to get to know him, to understand who he actually was and what he stood for. I asked him so many times to please just tell me what his games mean to him. I asked him please to tell me what the 3 dots mean. And he wouldn't. I just felt so strongly that if I could have connected with him, that if I could have somehow made his work my own, that I would finally be once and for all happy. It was that I needed to see myself in someone else. I needed to be someone other than me. But he stopped and left, and it felt somehow like I had failed.
It sounds like Davey Reedon put a lot of weight on his shoulders. If his friend really had depression, then of course it was very, very good that he tried to keep in connection with him. If his friend didn't undergo a therapy or anything.
Where did I screw up?
Well, wow. Why that?
I'm the reason that you stopped making games, aren't I? It's because of what I did. I poisoned it for you.
I don't quite see how Davey Reedon would be the reason that she stopped making games. It sounds like his friend had a problem with himself, and that Davey could see a lot more in those games than I could.
I don't think I ever told you this, but when I took your work and I was showing it to people, it actually felt... it felt as though I were responsible for something important and valuable.
When you think about it, it is very, very flattering to have somebody understand you this deeply and be this interested in you. I can understand why his friend threw that away. Well, it sounded like he was, for some reason, isolating himself on purpose.
And the people who played them, they treated me like I was important. They really listened and cared about what I had to say. Even though I was showing your work, I felt good about myself. Finally, for a moment, while I had that, I liked myself.
Yeah, okay. The idea of this person starts slipping from me as well. It's hard to understand. Why would he just push him back? Why would he just push this gift away, that there is somebody who is so deeply interested in his work and wants to see him happy? Of course it feels safe when you push people away, but you're also not happy when you're alone.
And then you stopped, and I didn't have anything left to show people. I just had to be with myself. And as soon as that happened, there was no feeling at all. Nothing. Less than nothing. What does that mean?
I still wonder whether this is a real person, whether this is just some kind of metaphor for Davey Reedon himself or not. If it's not, then wow, this is very toxic. If somebody talks to you like that, it's best for you to take a distance to them.
I'm afraid that I did something really stupid because I don't like myself.
This time there's no switch.
That's why I'm releasing this collection of your work, is because I haven't been able to find any other way to reach you. I've tried everything. And so a part of me has hope that if I put this compilation out into the world, and if I put my name on it, that maybe enough people will play it so that it'll find its way to you, so that I can tell you that I'm sorry. I know I screwed up. If I apologize to you truly and deeply, will you start making games again? Please, I need to feel okay with myself again. And I always felt okay as long as I had your work to see myself in. I mean, is something wrong with me? Because I know that I did an awful thing, and I'm doing it again right now. Like, I'm showing people your work, but I can't stop myself from doing it. That's how badly I need to feel something again, like I'm an addict. There has to be something wrong with me. Can I apologize? What if I tell you I was wrong? Will that work? Will that fix it? I don't know. I don't think it will, but there's nothing else that I can do. Just tell me what you want. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Please, start making games again. Please help me. Please give me some of whatever it is that makes you complete. I want whatever that wholeness is that you just summoned out of nothing and you put into your work. You were complete in some way that I never was. I want to know I want to know how to be a good person. I want to know how not to hate myself. Please. I'm fading, and all I want is to know that I'm going to be okay.
It doesn't sound like he was a whole person himself. He just described that he had all sorts of issues.
More love, more praise, more people telling me that I'm good. Always more. It's like a disease.
I remember that after the Stanley Parable came out, I read a bit on Davey Whedon's blog. It seems he's a very sensitive person. And listening to all this, he takes things a lot to heart. What a contrast to the sarcastic narrator in the Stanley Parable. Those trains aren't going anywhere.
Solution. I guess if someone had told me ahead of time that he just really enjoyed making prison games, maybe I wouldn't have thought he was so desperate. I wouldn't have told so many people that he was depressed. Maybe he just likes making prisons.
Yeah, I totally believe that. It's very courageous to publish something like this.
Even now, the disease is telling me to stop. Don't show people what a shitty person you are. They'll hate you.
I would have never figured him to think like that. If this is any comfort to you, Davey. Seeing that he's a sensitive person, yes. Not that he hates his... well, not hates his own work, but thinks he's such a bad person.
If I knew that my life depended on finding something to be driven by other than validation, what would that even be? It's strange, but the thought of not being driven by external validation is unthinkable. Like, I actually cannot conceive of what that would be like.
Yeah, what would that be? I do observe that in some people, it's the feeling of self-validation, that they have a goal and they achieve it and then they feel fantastic about it. I just think of somebody who has a garden. To them, it's satisfying to just see that what they put in the garden takes root and grows, bears fruit. That's not validation that comes from outside. That's happiness in what you have achieved.
What now?
Well, another thing could be to take care of other people, make sure that they're safe, make sure that they're healthy. What parents do.
I think I need to go. And I'm sorry, because I know that I said that I would be here and I would walk you through this, but I'm starting to feel like I have a lot of work to do. I have a lot that I need to make up for, and so I'm just gonna... Okay.
Are we slowly walking back to the desert level? Level from the beginning of the game? And that's it. I still wonder whether this is just all an interesting story that you told us, or whether there is something real to it. I guess I'm gonna hit the internet right after this. You guys have a good evening or morning or whatever the time is where you are. Thanks for watching.